Welcome to Healers Talk Healing, the podcast where we gather to explore the art and science of holistic healing, uncovering the secrets to a happier, healthier you. I'm your host, Nina Ganguly, and together we will delve into the intriguing world of holistic healing, delving into the mind-body connection, ancient wisdom, and natural remedies. Get ready for enlightening stories, thought-provoking expert interviews, and practical tips that will empower you to unlock your true potential and embrace a vibrant, balanced life. Whether you're an experienced wellness enthusiast or simply curious about the power of healing, join us on this exhilarating journey as we share the wisdom and insights that can truly transform your life. It's time to embark on a voyage towards a happier, healthier you. So, without further ado, let's dive into the captivating world of Healers Talk Healing. In today's episode, we're excited to introduce Angela Zeyn, a profoundly intuitive and skilled animal communicator with a remarkable ability to connect with animals and sometimes insects on a deep level. Angela's journey into honing her innate gifts began in childhood and has only grown stronger with time. Guided by a diverse range of teachers, including an unconventional yet pivotal mentor, a snake that lived with her for 7 years. This unique experience has sharpened her skills, enabling her to communicate more clearly and adeptly with all animals and to energetically sense and address their physical ailments. Angela's credentials are equally impressive, including certifications in massage therapy, multiple degrees in Reiki, and roles as a spiritual mentor and ordained minister. This episode is a must-listen for anyone intrigued by the deep, often unexplored connections between humans and animals. Angela's insights offer a rare glimpse into the ways we can understand and interact with the animal world, highlighting the blessings and the lessons these interactions bring into our lives. Whether you're a pet owner, animal lover, or someone interested in the intuitive and spiritual realms, Angela's stories and abilities will inspire you to consider the profound impact of animal communication. Join us to explore the incredible journey of a woman who never takes her gift for granted and learn how it can illuminate the lives of both animals and their human companions. Oh, I am very excited to have Angela here with us today. We're going to get into a really interesting conversation on this episode, not one that I've had before, so I'm super excited to be speaking with you, Angela. But before we begin, I always ask this question to all of our guests. And the question is, for the listeners who've been listening, they know what it is. What is your definition of healing?
Well, when you ask me that question, that could have two sides to it. It's the healing of the individual or the person that is quote unquote the healer. So I guess I'll answer both of them, huh?
Yeah, why not?
For me as a healer, I'm really just a conduit. I'm a conduit for the energy to move through me, which moves through every single one of us and everything on the planet. Doesn't matter what it is. We all have this life force energy that moves through us. And as a healer, I'm just the conduit for that to move through. And because I've done my own healing work, it allows me to have it move through clearer, more abundantly, I think, because I'm more awake to it and open to it moving through me. So yeah, when it comes to the person being healed, that's really up to them too, because I could do all the things that I know to do and more, whatever I'm guided, because I'm always constantly learning something new every single time. And I'm so grateful for that. But I could work on somebody until I'm blue in the face and worn out and laying down on the ground because I'm so worn out. But it's up to that individual to receive a healing. And it doesn't mean that the healing's coming from me. It's from source and from their own being to open up and say, yeah, I want this for myself. that's where the healing happens. There's a saying, healer, heal thyself,
Mm,
right? So I've had to do my work so I can understand that when I'm working with other individuals, whether I'm just talking to them or I'm doing hands-on healing or I'm just moving energy or whatever is happening, a lot of that awareness goes through me because I've already experienced it, so I can help them more.
mm,
Some sense.
yeah.
So that was around, yeah, that's how my view on healing.
Mm. Yeah, it's so true about the openness of the other person, the person that comes for the healing. And it's interesting when I don't know if you've experienced this when you have someone who wants the healing, but still is like you can feel the resistance so that, the having that peace move within them. What do you do when you're working with someone or talking to someone who's saying like, yes, I want that, and they're there with you, whether it's distance or in person, and yet there's still something there.
Hmm. When that comes up in my awareness, I usually call it out in the awareness of the individual so
Mm,
they can be aware of it, because somewhere inside of all of us, we have the awareness, whether we want to admit to it or not, or whether we want to shove it down in the corner somewhere or act like it doesn't exist. It does. So I always bring the awareness to the individual of that I'm picking up on that they have this resistance or a block or they have fear. And
mhm,
sometimes they just needed comforted through the fear of the unknown or something's going to change. Because most people that have any sort of blocks or not wanting to receive it completely are in fear of the unknown because they're in such a pattern.
mm,
It's a loop. It's a loop of energy, of programming, of a way of being, of actions, non-actions, whatever it is that they're so used to being in. So to get out of that is like a shock to the system. And what do I do? And who am I without that? So once I bring that awareness to individuals, they most of the time, I can't say every time, but most of the time, individuals will shift with that and go, oh, okay, thank you. And they just really need support to know that they're not alone in that and that it's okay to be freaked out
yeah,
or
I think that's
scared
I'm
or
glad
in
that you said
resistance.
that, because most of us don't think it's okay to freak out or to let go or to just feel what's there. We've been conditioned to I've even done it with my kids when they were little. Put away your tears. No tears. Put them away. Well, mostly when they were crocodile and you knew they were fake. If they were like actual feelings, that's not what I did. But for when I was growing up, definitely like we were not allowed to express our emotions, ones that were uncomfortable. And, in particularly, I think in the culture that I've grown up in, which is the South Asian culture, yeah, you don't express any emotions that are not uncomfortable, or that are uncomfortable, sorry, any emotions that are uncomfortable. So listening to you say that, hey, it's okay, and that's what we want as healers, our listeners to understand, that it is okay, all the feelings, good, bad, whatever they are, the whole gamut. There's something I always say. I've heard other people say it now since I've been saying it, because it's the way the world works. It's like you feel the feelings, deal with the feelings, heal the feelings. It's the only way to really move forward inside of healing. So I'm glad that you said that. I think, knowing that you have a partner that's going to
Mhm.
provide that space, and you said like being that conduit to leave um some room for humanity.
Yeah, it's important because, and I always tell people, for God's sakes, let it out, whatever it
Mm,
is, whether you need to scream, cry, roll around, throw a fit, get on the floor and have a tantrum, go run around, whatever, however it wants to come out. But I also advise them, don't get stuck in it. It's
mm,
not, because some people have a way of like, oh my God, like meltdown. And then next thing you know, they are melting down for months. And it
yeah.
doesn't mean they don't have a lot of stuff to release. but people can get really in that, and then they're in victim mode, or I'm in trauma all the time, or
Yeah.
so I let people know, like, let it out, but move forward with yourself at the same time. Don't get stuck in it. Like, release it. Maybe the release is only going to be for 2 minutes. Maybe the release is going to be for, all throughout the day, whatever it is, but don't get stuck
Mm.
in the release. I wasn't someone to necessarily cry for a long time. And then I would laugh, I would go into hysterical laughter more, and I'd have that nervous laughter.
Right.
And that's how I released a lot. And as I was doing my own healing work, then the crying began, and then I didn't stop
Yeah,
for a
let's
while.
talk a little bit more about your own journey through healing, because you said, healer, heal thyself. I think it's important for our healers that are listening, not just people who are looking for support, but people who are in this space doing the work, helping others. What has your journey been like in the healer, heal thyself?
Wow. It's been a long road.
It's like a
It's good.
never-ending road, I
I've
think.
been, huh?
I feel like it's
What?
a never-ending road.
It really is a never ending road, because that's like saying, I'm healed or I've learned everything. No, you haven't. For the rest of your life, you're going to be going on, and it gets easier, because it's that concept of the layers of the onion. As you
Mhm.
get further into the onion, the layers are thinner, and it's not as thick and hard to get through. So just, even though I've been on my pathway of healing since I was in my early 20s,
Mm.
um, and now I'm 52, which is like, wow, how'd that happen? I think most of us
I
that
hear you, sister.
um but it gets easier, and when it comes up now, it's easier for me to recognize and go, oh, okay, there's a little bit of that still going on. It's like it gets the longer you go, stuff may still come up, and you're like, oh, I have to deal with this some more. But if you can look at it as it's just peppered in there, it's like a
Mm,
seasoning, the further you go, oh, it comes up, but oh, I can just wash that away or shoo it away like crumbs. It's nothing unless I feed into it and make it a big thing. So, my own healing, um, I wouldn't say that I was thrown into it. I really made a conscious choice
mm,
to do the work for myself. Um, I shoved a lot of stuff down with drugs and alcohol and crazy lifestyle.
mm,
Mhm. And then I would get nightmares that it was like, no matter how high I got or what I did, I couldn't suppress things anymore.
mm,
It was coming out like loud and clear, like, you got to deal with this. And some of that stuff I honestly didn't completely accept until I was in my 30s, because I
mm.
still wanted to take it as, oh, I must be imagining this, or I created this somehow, but I didn't. So I did all the work around it to get to the point to really accept some certain things that happened to me in my childhood. And uh, um, it's been a process, but if the more willing you are to keep walking through the shit storms and through
Mhm.
hell, there's a quote that says, if you're going through hell, keep walking.
Yeah.
It's important to keep going, no matter what the scenario is and what's going on. And there were some really hard times that were really heavy and hard, and I wondered if I'd ever get through them.
Mm,
Um, but it's a decision, and that's something I tell people all the time, and I tell myself all the time, is it's a decision. Once you make a decision, stay in your decision. And no matter what comes up, because you've made this intention and this decision, everything comes to help you. The
mm,
universe joins in, your angels, your ancestors, the whole crew, whoever you connect to is going to join in and help it happen. But it's the decision.
I love that, because it is so true. I talk about this and in all of my conversations. My conversations are so different once I began my healing journey than they were before, but it's
Oh
so
yeah,
true.
right.
There's that piece of intention, like what is it that you want at the end of all of this stuff that we have in life? What is it that you want? And then having that willingness to continue, like you said, to walk through hell when it feels like it couldn't possibly get any worse for you
Mm-hmm.
as you begin the healing. And what I want for the listeners to get is really to understand that I'm not even talking about the drama that we create around it. The fact is, yes, sometimes we do, when, like you were saying, you can get into the drama and you can live and be in a victim cycle, but it's the piece of working to get to a place of acceptance of what is, and understanding that it can't change. Like we get stuck. I think the healing part is healing things that have happened to us in the past, and accepting that it's happened, and then working through it, and knowing all the stuff that happens with the PTSD, and maybe flashbacks or being in a similar situation and bringing some of those things back with you, and knowing that it's okay to do the things that you mentioned, like screaming or having a tantrum, or for me, the first thing I always say is, I just want to punch that thing in the face, whatever it is. Going to one of those rooms where you can just hit things, and I don't know, that's the way I guess I don't hit people, but or things, but I'm saying, you can get to one of those rec rooms and just go at it and do what you need to do, and give yourself space to do it. And I think the important piece to note here is to give ourselves the space and the compassion to do it, and to know that there is it's stuff is still going to come up.
Yeah,
Stuff is still going to
always,
come up all the time. I love your
always.
cat. For those, the
Thank
listeners
you.
can't see
I
the cat, but I can see the cat.
thank you. I had to sit on the bed because it was the best light in my house right at this time of day, and yeah, it's like a
And your
cat,
cat
but
has made perfect timing, because there is a skill that you have that that is very unique. And I want to talk about this because I have a dog. I've had many dogs over my lifetime, growing up. And, so the listeners, Angela works with animals as well and heals animals. And, you know, I find that fascinating, because in my brain, I'm like, maybe I can do Reiki on my dog. And then I'm not connecting. Nothing's happening, you know? Um, and maybe that's something I have to practice. I'm not sure. But what is it like working with animals?
oh, I love working with animals. They're the easiest because
Mm,
they're very clear. They're very it's very black and white. They don't give you the gray stuff. They tell it as it is. They tell it
mm.
as they see it, as they know it to be. Actually, I'm sorry, I got the one cat under the blanket, and the other cat keeps walking on her, and
That's okay.
single day, and she's growling. So if you hear her under there, she's like, "Leave me alone." Um, sorry about that.
That's
So
okay.
talking to animals, it's the best because they're just so easy to deal with, and it's very straightforward, and they come from the truth. They come from source as it is,
Mm,
they're not mixed up by an ego or wanting things. And it's not to say that they don't want things or they don't have their own personality, because they
mm.
do. And they definitely have their happiness. There's a whole thing going on in my head right now. Their happiness and non-happiness, but it's I don't know, it's amazing. It's one of my favorite things to do is to talk to animals. And it's usually the animals helping their people more than the people helping their animals, honestly.
Mm. That is so
um,
lovely.
it is lovely. It's really helpful. I've been talking to animals for a really long time. And I didn't do it professionally until, I don't know, maybe 12 years ago, I'm going to guess off the top of my head. Actually, less than that, I think. And one of my clients was like, "You're always telling me these stories, how you're out talking to snakes on hikes and you're talking to this animal and that animal. Why aren't you doing this professionally?" And I'm like, oh, good thought. Um, yeah, and it was interesting to move it into the context of doing like sessions with people and stuff, because it was always just happening to me naturally when
Mm.
I would be in nature or with my own animals. Um, and I wasn't even, it's funny, even to this day, I don't have tons of conversations with my own animals. It's like we talk and I know we understand each other, but some people are like, "Well, don't you know this about them or that?" And I'm like, I don't know if I need to know this or that about them. Like we know what
Mm.
we need to know about each other, like anyone else, right? Um, so yeah, I don't know. What do you want to know about talking about animals? I
I think
kind of
it's so cool because, I think okay, I'm not going to say we, I'm going to say I, because it's coming from me. I can't talk
okay.
about the whole population, but, I imagine it. I imagine that they are like we see them in cartoons when they have the personalities and they're talking
Yeah,
and, they're saying stuff and we're trying to understand, and they hear our human language and we hear their animal language, and, all we can tell is through the emotions. Because I think if you're an animal lover, you can feel definitely the emotions of your animal, whatever animal that you have. I mean, my daughter had a chameleon, and that chameleon, I was like, I felt something for the chameleon, even though I had no idea, you know, what she wanted or anything like that. I got attached to the chameleon. I still feel a little sad that, she had such a short life, but the I wonder what it would have been like to be able to say to her, well, what is it like when she stopped eating it? What is it that you need? What can I do to support you to, so that she could have had a longer life? Um, and I have a retriever right now, and lovingly I say he's special needs because he's a very strange animal. He makes me laugh all the time. um but I think that what I want to know is, what is it like to experience them at that level where I think it's like a beautiful deep connection. Join the Miracles Directory, where healers connect and wellness begins. Join a community of trusted holistic professionals, or find your path to healing and peace. Visit themiraclesdirectory.com. Start your journey today.
it's when I take myself there right now to give that to you, it's peaceful,
Mm.
funny. I laugh a lot with them. Um,
They must think we're crazy.
yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Just kind of
I
like
can
we think
imagine that they
we're
do.
crazy. Yeah, or we're crazy ourselves. They do. But they're very compassionate and loving, and they see things from a higher standpoint.
Mm.
They're not stuck in this 3D world. Not that, once again, not to say they don't have issues with something that's going on in their physical world, but they just seem to see things from a higher perspective. They're like little wise sages running around, and we do feel in general, people
Hmm.
feel their emotions from their animals and pick up on what they're communicating because they telepathically communicate. So it
Mm.
doesn't even matter what language you speak to them, they're going to understand it. People are like, "What do you mean?" Okay, well, I've had boyfriends that are Israeli, I've had boyfriends that are Spanish speaking. It didn't matter. Like those guys could speak to my animals in any language or in English along with it, whatever, and they understand because
Mm.
they go by frequency, vibration, just like the rest of us, whether we realize it or not.
Mhm.
We all go by this. And it's so telepathic. They communicate telepathically. That's why when you're like, they have an issue with each other, meaning your cats or your dog and your cat or some other animal, they really have an issue and understand. And it's very silent, but that's because they're having a whole conversation with themselves. So how does it feel? It feels really magical. I
Mm.
have a friend who calls me Snowy. I bring this up a lot with people because she's like, you're snowy. She's like, you've got your own animals, you talk to other animals, you've got the hummingbirds coming to you, the squirrels, the raccoons, the whatever, things show up on your front door, literally. Yeah, it's just really, it's magical. It's a blessing. I feel like it's a huge gift to be able to do that.
Mm.
And I think anybody can do it if they open themselves up to have the conversation.
Hmm. I'm gonna try that. Like, what do I have to do to open up? That's a good question, actually. What can we do, to open up to that frequency?
All right. I've never taught anybody to speak to animals, honestly. I've taught
Mm.
people a lot of things, but I've never taught them that. And well, actually, what I do say to people is, um, always communicate to your animals, talk to them about everything. Oh, we're
Mm.
moving, this is happening, or I'm going away, or this is going on in life.
Okay.
Communicate with them, because even if you don't hear back, they hear you. And they know anyway, because they hear you talking to other people, to yourself. They know what's going on, but they like to be included in you acknowledging them and communicating. And when it comes to being open to hear them back, I think it comes down with anything is it's about listening. It's about being quiet enough to listen. And if you get some voice in your head that feels like I'm trying to think of an example of just like a statement,
Mm.
like you're asking, I'm talking to him, and you hear like this statement come, more than likely you're picking up on them. You may think it's your own brain tricking you, and it's like, oh, I'm talking to myself. It's me doing that. No, more than likely it's their statement to you. It's them talking to you. I don't really know how to tell people how to open up to that, except for to be open. It's like
Mm.
do the work that anybody would teach you how to become more your third eye open, your spiritual senses open more to hear anything. And you can do that by working with your chakras. You can do that with breath work. You can do that. I mean, there's so many different modalities of how you can get yourself there, right? But it's just
Hmm.
really about opening up to listen, because we're all communicating with each other telepathically anyway. All of us. That's how we know before the phone rings, somebody's
Hmm.
calling us, or you keep thinking about somebody and you talk to them, you're like, yeah, I've been thinking about you, or, whatever it is. I mean, we have so many scenarios throughout our lives that we can all connect to and go, yeah, I had that happen, or I have this happen. That's telepathic communication. So the more you work on it, it's like a muscle,
Mm.
right? The more you work out, you more you work with it, the stronger
Right.
it becomes. So that's my real suggestion is be open to listening, do any work you connect with for yourself that does open you up more, and um, just pay attention. Really.
It's yeah,
Be open to
you're
receive.
so right about that. It's like with you, basically it's like with anything else when you're looking to connect to the universe, connect with somebody or something. It is about the awareness and the quietening your mind so you can hear. There's there's so many beautiful nuggets you gave, just like in general in life. Like if you want to connect with someone, be present, be open, listen. And listening is, I think, a big human struggle. We need to learn how to listen better overall. And I am going to work on that for myself, is to work more on listening for my my wonderful dog, to see what he has to share. You were just talking about moving, and I felt like I never told him we were moving. I never told him, and no wonder he was so uncomfortable. And then I didn't tell him, oh, by the way, you're moving floors now. Also, now you're going to move to the upstairs floor while we're because we're going through renovations. So I think we're gonna have to have some conversations now more than I've had in the past. And then it's so wonderful what you did provide a lot, even though you said you don't teach people. But for me, I'm walking away with, oh, there's so much more that I can do. As much as I love him, there's so much more that I can do so that he can get his communication across to me, so that I can, give him what he needs to feel safe and secure, and feel, well, I know he's happy. He has his zoomies all the time, so you know he gets
You
out in
have
the
a
backyard and he
happy
goes
dog.
insane, which is hilarious.
You have a happy dog for sure. This is a cute example. I mean, I am who I am, and I've been doing what I do for a long time, so I am very open. And
Mm.
but that little cat that was on my lap a few minutes ago, one of those stories, there he was in my life showing up like, hey, and long story short is that I was talking to the woman that originally found him,
Mm.
and she's like, do you still have him? And I'm like, yeah, nobody's wanted to adopt him. He was only like 3 weeks old. He was found on a sidewalk covered in ants,
Oh.
that kind of thing. And so um she's like, did you name him? And I'm like, well, I don't want to really get attached right now. Just calling him baby. And she's
Mhm.
like, oh, he needs a better name than that. So I came home and he was in the kitchen with me, and I looked at him and I said, okay, what's your name? And I just got quiet, and I heard it. I heard Billy. And I looked at
Mm.
him and I said, is your name Billy? And he just started meowing at me. And he doesn't always meow. So I was like, okay. And ever since then, Billy is it. And he is a Billy. Yeah. It comes down to the simplest moments, but it's all about the listening.
That's
And
so.
definitely talk to your animals. Please, by all means, talk to them. They understand you, even though you may not understand them, they understand you.
All
So,
right. I will definitely, I'm going to share that with the family, because if they're hearing what's going on, just like children hear what's happening between parents, then they're very well aware of the temperature in the household.
of course, they sure are. Yep.
That's so
Hmm.
cool. What came to mind is, while you were talking about, they say that animals choose their owners if you allow them to. And I
Hmm.
remember when we went to pick up our dog, whose name is Darcy. I told the family, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna stand around and see who's gonna come. So we all kind of just stood around and waited, and only one puppy came, and that one puppy came to me, and that was it. And we're like, okay, well, let's see if there's any more. I'm like, I don't think there is, but we'll see if we feel that connection. So while I'm hearing you share it, I'm reminded that, you know, he chose us, because we just stood there and we're like, okay, I'm just going to wait to see who shows up.
Yep, they do. They choose you. I could tell you all kinds of stories about pets. I've had wild animals, how they've
Mm.
shown me themselves, but they don't let anyone else see them. It goes on and on, but they definitely choose you. That's why there's the whole thing of animal medicine. Those
Hmm.
animals come to share their medicine with you, whether it's a dog or a bird or a snake or an owl, whatever, or a fish or a lizard, whatever it is, they come to share their medicine with you. And that's the magic that they carry and the messages.
Mm.
Mm.
That's so beautiful. That really, I'm I really am a little speechless, because I think it's important to remember how magical that they are. And a lot of human beings, or this is my opinion anyways, feel
Mhm.
that, we have dominion, quote unquote, over the natural world, including animals. And
Mhm.
it's such that's not true.
No, that's just a programming. For me, I feel that way too. It's a programming. Personally, I feel it's a programming about control,
Hmm.
about humans being in control of animals, of the earth, of other humans, of it's control. Yeah, they're so magical, and they have every right to be here just like you and I. It's hard. I try not to eat animals, but
Mm,
my body, the way my body works is I'm actually healthier
mm,
and stronger when I do. So I have a real battle,
mm,
real hard battle with that, of what to do. So what I do is every time I eat animal protein is I thank that.
mm-hmm,
I thank the essence of the animal or animals that came to feed me at that time.
mm,
Because if I was back in the day,
mm-hmm.
or maybe just different parts of the country or the world, I would hunt, right?
Right.
And now because of how society is, and there's so many billions of people, there's mass consumption, which is
Mm-hmm.
really disturbing because of how they treat the animals. It's
Yes.
not they're regarded for anything. They're not thanked. They're not, it's like a conveyor belt, and that's the
Yes.
hardest situation because of what humans have created in that. At least for me personally,
Yeah.
it's a really hard one to deal with. Um, but I feel some relief if I at least bless my food and thank the animal where it came from. I mean,
Yeah, I
we all
love that.
come here, animals, humans, anything, insects, all of us, we all come here for our purpose and our experience, whatever that is, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just reminded of, you know, without the sustenance, we wouldn't, many of us can't survive healthily. And I have seen many documentaries that for a while I'm like, okay, I can't eat any meat and or meat products or any of it. And yeah, I ebb and flow and I go in and out, and I know from my body just innately that, that the meat protein works for me to keep me healthy as well. But, I always try to make sure that I am in gratitude for the whole process, that happens with what mostly with all my food, but specifically animals, because I believe there's a different level of sentience there. And
Mhm.
so, I'm glad that you brought it up and didn't have an idea we were going to go this way in this conversation. But the truth is, if we can all have a sense of gratitude for the part that animals play in our lives, like any sentient being plays in our lives, like I'll work on the insects, I'll be honest. Insects. I'm going to work on wasps and creepy crawly things that gross me out for my own fears because I don't want to be bitten. Um, but there is something to be said that, if all your part in releasing control is being grateful for the gifts that it brings, then that's like so great for your own frequency and the frequency out there in the world, because there's so much that can be done differently.
Yeah. And it changes everything.
Mm.
It does. It really does change everything. It changes how it affects your body and how it affects literally everything. My I come from Pennsylvania, so there's a lot of hunters, and I asked my nephew, do you bless the deer? Do you bless the animals that you hunt? And he's like,
Mm.
oh, every time I thank that animal, I bless it and, give gratitude. So I'm like, okay, just had to
Yeah, well,
check.
if you look at the
Huh?
I mean, we could talk about this forever, but I will say one thing before we kind of round up our conversation is if we go back and we look at the indigenous communities and how they have really um the care that they put into their hunting and the processes that they used, or they still use to this day, we could learn something from that for sure. I think that there's something we can learn because they need they need a lot of that for, well, culturally and for sustenance, maybe not as much as they needed it back in the day, but still it's really important to see that there is a way that we can find some compromise and compassion and congruency for the animals that we serve. They don't need us. Let's just remember that the earth and the animals, they don't need human beings.
They don't.
They will
They're like
survive
me.
plenty without us. Just see what happened over COVID, and you will see that, we can learn a lot from that. And I think with that, we're going to wrap our conversation up. It was such a beautiful conversation. Angela, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. I learned a lot today in this conversation. And so you are obviously available to find on the Miracles directory for both
Yes.
people who are looking for healing for themselves and looking for healing for their animals. Is there any other way we can connect with you?
You can find my website. It's Angela, as my mom would spell it, Angel with an A. Angela Zeyn. The last name is, people get that confused. So it's Z as in zebra. So funny. My sister, I saw her not long ago and she was laughing. She's like, you do that too. Z as in zebra, EYN. So it's angelazeyn.com.
Well, once again, thank you so much for your time. This was such a great conversation. And if
Thank
you
you.
like what you heard, please comment, please share. This is going to be, I think listening to this will be a game changer for some people. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us today on Healers Talk Healing. We hope you've been inspired and empowered on your holistic healing journey. If you've enjoyed today's episode and want to continue learning and growing with us, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, and review our podcast. Your feedback and support mean the world to us. Remember, healing is a lifelong journey, and you have the power to transform your life in profound ways. Stay curious, keep exploring, and never stop believing in your own capacity for healing.